personally, I'm from a Jewish family in Rome, and we came here in 2000. We bought this property in 2000. My wife's families had another winery before in the southern Tuscany, and so now we are continuing their tradition. We bought this property. This was a part of another huge winery. It was a satellite, and they decided to sell this because it was too far, and for them it was difficult to bring tractor machineries. And when we came here, we found very old vineyards, and for about 7 years we sold the grapes of the wineries, and in 2008 we started producing our own bottles. But because we found very old vineyards, we are still replacing them. So I stopped it here because I would like to show you. This is a vineyard planted 2.5 months ago, and so you can see the baby vines are still very small, but they are very delicate in this moment because their roots are not so long. But they are lucky because we had some rain yesterday and 2 days ago. They are breathing again, and this is good because I would like to show you at first the soil we have here. You see it's a rocky soil, and the rocks are very important for the wines because the roots of the vine go deep searching for the water, receiving minerals from the rocks. So the taste of the wine is better because of the kind of mineral we have in our soil, and because of the rocks also. Now you see the humidity, but because yesterday evening we had the rain, but usually it's much more dry, and this is good for us because to have good wines we need very concentrated grapes. Another characteristic of the region, we are in the Chianti region. The Chianti region is between Siena and Firenze, and in the center of this region we produce a wine that is called Chianti Classico. It's a wine with a lot of restriction. We are regulated. We like in France, Bordeaux, Champagne. We have the appellation for our wines, and the Chianti Classico region was the first place in the world regulated for the wine more than 300 years ago. So one characteristic is the soil, but what is important is are different things that characteristics that need to be together. So the soil, but also that we are on high hills that are from 300 to 600 meters above sea level. So we had the opportunity to plant the vineyards, giving them a very good exposure. This is southern direction, Siena. I don't know if you see Siena there, and because of the hills, the vines can receive more sun, also because of the angle, and this is very, very important. And because we are on high hills, these are windy places. Usually the wind comes in the afternoon and the temperature change. The differences in temperature, also in France, but all over where there are good wines, usually there are big differences in temperature between the day and the night. This is very important to have the correct ripeness of the grapes. And behind the hills, now the light is not so good, but behind the hill there is the sea. So usually the winds come from there, and the temperature change during the night. The most important regulation we have here is that we have to use at minimum 80% of Sangiovese grapes in our wine. Sangiovese is the typical grape we have in Tuscany, and is a kind of grape very delicate, with a very thin skin, and difficult to plant in other regions. So we are lucky to have something that is unique and we use for our wines. Here is an old vineyard. So every year in winter time, when there are no leaves, for us is the time for pruning them, and this is very important because also here is regulated the amount of grapes we can pick in a vineyard. So it's not allowed to have big production, and during the pruning season we can know approximately how many grapes we will have in our vineyard, depending how we prune them. So what we do usually, every year we maintain one branch to have the new production. So it means that we select the best branch. Like next year we will select this, that is stronger. You see the picture, and we cut, not too much. We cut all the other branches except one that we cut, we turn it, and we lock it like an arch. And you see, this one, this is the oldest part of the vine. And from here, you see there is like an arch, this one. And this branch last year was a branch like one of them. But we turn it and we lock it here. I don't know where is locked by us, here. And from each bud, we had new branches. And we know that at the beginning of each branch, we'll have 1 or 2 bunches of grapes. So with that system, we can have all the grapes at the same height for easy picking and with the same ripeness. This is very important to pick all the grapes together when it's the time when it's the harvest time. And now you will see, now but I'll show you later. This is the moment when the grapes are turning in color. At the beginning, all the grapes are green. And depending if are red wines or for the red grapes or white grapes, they will turn in red, in purple, or in yellow color. But here, all the grapes are, I told you, are red grapes. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. When it's possible, we postpone as much as possible, usually to jump Kippur, also because it's more easy to have the mashgiach here, the mashgichim, the Shomer Shabbat guys who come from.
So to collect the grapes needs to be done not during Shabbat and not during holidays.
The pickers can be also non-Jewish people.
Yes.
But because I'm Jewish, nobody can pick the grapes if are holidays. Because in other wineries, if the owners are not Jewish, the pickers can pick the grapes, but it's not allowed to crush the grapes, to process the winemaking process.
Okay.
Here we have 2 Shomer Shabbat guys, approved by the certification we have, that they come for the harvest time. They stay here for all the time we need from the beginning of the harvest till the end of the fermentation. The problem is, I told you, that if there are holidays, they can go to Florence, they stay there, and as soon as possible they have to come back here. The point is that usually they want to stay with their families for at least for Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. So if we can jump Kippur, it's better for us. Even if, you know, Sukkot is very long and could be that last year we had the guy here all the time from Sukkot, but there were many days that he was in Florence.
But usually there are people from Italy?
No, usually in the harvest time we have at least one coming from Israel, from the certification, and need to be an expert in wine. This is very important for us, because not all the mashgichim they know about how to make the wine. So, because we work in quality, we ask it to have someone. We prefer to spend a little bit more and have someone who knows exactly what to do into the winery. And we have also someone coming from Rome or Milan, approved by them. In the harvest time we need 2 people. In the rest of the year depends what we are doing. Could be that we need 1 or 2. All the time we need someone, we call them. Now we have the mashgiach because of the restaurant also. Okay. There's a mashgiach that also works into the winery. But I'll show you later because of what I told you. When there are holidays, we have to be sure that the fermentation go in the right way. So we adopted some new technology for this. But are all technology that are absolutely in the tradition system. So we don't.
Yeah, there is no irrigation anyway, so you cannot optimize the irrigation.
You mentioned here.
Yeah, on the field.
Here is
purely natural.
Yeah.
There is no. You don't take picture with drone to monitor if you have some area which are more dry.
We from the beginning, from the 2001, we are organic also. So we don't use pesticides. We use only organic fertilizers, and it's very important to have an excellent monitoring of the weather and the condition of the
soil,
the vines, and so our agronomist is connected with some scientific places to give all the information that are important for us to decide what to use, what to do on our vines to prevent disease. So is a very specific control. It's not like the general to have a good production in organic way. We have to do this. So it's very important to know about the weather and to check about the disease and control them using. There are a few chemicals that is allowed to use in organic production that is possible to use in very
limited
low quantities. If we prevent everything. Important for us because for our children at first we can teach to them. And I don't know, preparing for Bat Mitzvah, all these things. And also we organize a Shabbat a month. It's not easy to have minyan, but it's better than nothing. And during holidays usually we have minyan because there are also some tourists coming, and so it's still alive. Yeah. And but from here I would like to show you the view. This is a typical Chianti view. It means that you can see only vineyards, olive trees, and forest. This is because of the kind of soil we have here. Here is very difficult to plant other things. And the Chianti region starts from the north of Siena, so where we are now, direction Firenze to the north. And but if you see, I'm sorry, the light is really behind Siena. The hills there are not high like here. And usually when the light is better, you see very yellow fields there. And because there is Crete Senesi, it's not Chianti, the soil there is clay soil. So there they have wheat, corn, sunflowers, but not vineyard. And so there is a natural border between the Chianti region and the other part of Tuscany. And that's the reason because they started here to plant vineyards different years ago, because it's difficult to plant other things, really. Only the roots of the vines and not the olive trees are not strong to grow here. And my property stopped at the white road there, at the cross there. There, behind is another winery. Okay. Yeah.
So you are considered as a medium-sized winery. Small, medium.
At the moment, because we are still replacing our vineyards, we have a production of 8.5 hectares. But with the potential to have 15 hectares, so now we are producing about 40,000 bottles a year. The potential is to produce 100,000 bottles. So at the moment we are small, but when all the production will be okay, will be medium size. Okay. But there are some wineries that are huge wineries.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Italy is always in competition with the French, or it's a different market, different
no, different importer? There is a competition. There is a competition, but it's a good competition. We are two different countries with different wines. In France, there are some excellent production. In Italy, for something we are a little bit back. But in Italy, we have, if you go from the north to the south of Italy, every region has a different kinds of wine. So in terms of the variability, in Italy there are much more kinds of grapes, so more different wines. We want that the price of our wines stay in the range of the regular wines. This is because we have the opportunity to sell our wines also in the non-kosher market, and this for us is very, very important. Now in the restaurant we have the mashgia, and also have to put the wine, all these things, and but in the winery too, because for the reason that we are fully kosher, the winery is fully kosher. Really, we don't have any employees that work for us into the winery. They are the mashgichim that they work into the winery. So we don't have the annual cost of the people working into the winery, and is at the end is a balance, between the mashgichim that they have to work with their hands into the wine. So That's the point. And the added costs we have are because they are coming from Israel, so we have to pay the tickets and our people that it costs a lot. But and also we have the annual fee for the certification. But if we can put our wine in a market that is kosher and not kosher, this is the value, no? Obviously, if we have this cost, we can put on kosher production and on the kosher market, and so at the end, I think there is a balance. For me, sometimes it's possible to see in the kosher market some wines that are very expensive, and many are Israeli wines that are absolutely unjustified. At the end, it's the quality of the wine that speaks.
Yeah.
Means that is a quality wine. The prices can be higher because you are selling well. You have price, you have medals, and so it means that you are reliable on the market. You have quality. So this can justify a good price. Feels much better. Can enter without the presence of the mashkia, and so we were really okay with this. It's an American certification. We are working, I told you, with the Israeli office, and what we do here usually, the pickers pick the grapes by hand and they put in basket, and they bring the basket outside the winery, where usually in the harvest time there is a machine who separate the stems from the grapes and also crush the grapes. And the work of the mashgia starts when he reverses the grapes in this machine, because from there is a possibility that the fermentation starts. And they bring all the crushed grapes in the 5 tanks on the left there. I explain you for that more what is the fermentation process. The fermentation is, into the grapes there is the sugar, and the sugar is produced because of the sun. And when we crush the grapes, the sugar that is inside the grapes touch the yeast, the natural yeast that is outside the grapes on the skin, and the fermentation starts. And the fermentation is the process when the sugar turns in alcohol, and there is the production of the gas, the CO2 gas, and also there is the self-heating. So for us that we produce red wines, also we need the skins of the grapes during the fermentation times, also because the color of the wines come from the skins only. So we bring all the crushed grapes in the 5 tanks there. Each tank is for 10,000 liters of wine, and there we have the technology that I told you, because these are special tanks, because we have a computer on the wall there. Now I switch it off, and using the computer we can regulate the temperature in each tank. So we can decide exactly which kind of temperature we would like to have. And this is very important, because with the control of the temperature we can control the timing of the fermentation. So I don't know if a holiday or Shabbat is coming, we can put lower temperature to have slower fermentation. And also another very important thing is that we have to move the wine with their skins and the seeds every day. This is very important for the wine, not only to have more color, but really to guarantee a good process. And usually we can do this with using a pump of holes. Otherwise, if our holidays, we adopted a new technology that was invented in Italy to have more color into the wine. So it means that these tanks they have a very thick metal, and on the top of each tank there is a valve that the computer can control the opening and closing of this valve. When the valve is closed, the gas coming from the fermentation can escape, so the pressure goes up, and all the skins that usually are on the top of the tank go into the liquid alone. And when the valve is opened, there are many CO2 bubbles coming all together, mixing everything. So we can have the movement of the wine into the tanks, even if nobody is here, if the mashgichim are outside of the winery. And this is very good solution we found with our technology, with our winemaker, because it's a technology that was invented for quality wines and we adapted for kosher production. At the end of the fermentation, when the wines are dry, we move the wine to the other metal tanks. And we separate the new wine from the skins, from the seeds, and we start to taste the wine. So because the wine, we have the new wine, but the new wine is really, it's like a
Grape juice.
yes. We need to understand the potential of the wine. So we taste the wine, we compare with the previous wines, and me and my wife and the winemaker, we start to taste and we decide what to do. Every year we would like to reach as much as possible the same style we have in all the labels we have, and so we can change the blend and we can change the aging. The aging can be done in metal tanks, but much more in barrels. So here you can see some bigger barrels, some few smaller barrels. These are, barriques and tonneaux, and the barrels can be new, can be used, can have different kinds of wood, and the time in the barrels can change a lot the taste of the wine, because there is the release of the tannins coming from the wood, and also there is a connection for what is inside the wine and the air that is outside. So there is a like subtle oxidation with that time. So the wine changes in its quality and also in its taste. And we have some wine that stay just a couple of months in the barrel, some others stay 2 years or more. At the end of this, we call another company. They come here with a bottling machine on a truck. They have a very new technology in their truck, and it's possible to kosherize the line because they have the steamer line. And in a day with them, we can bottle more than 20,000 bottles in one day. At the end of this, also there is the aging into the bottle. This is very important. That's the reason because we use the natural cork. Because at the beginning, with our wines in particular, coming from Sangiovese grapes, the wines can be very sharp. So the wines need to be aged in the bottles for other months. It depends of the label. So we have in the room there, we have all the wines that are in aging, and for some of them we wait also 1 year before to start to sell them. And that's it. When the wines are ready, we start to sell them. All the front label we have here are the same for all countries, but the back label change depending on the country, the regulation we have there. Okay, good to taste the wine.
Thank you very much.
First wine of the tasting, this is Toscana, it's not Chianti Classico. Chianti Classico is a wine very high regulated that is allowed to produce only in this region, but everywhere in the Tuscan region we can produce a wine that's called Toscana, much less regulated. The only regulation is that we have to pick the grapes from Tuscan region. And like all the other wineries, we have one Toscana, and this is 100% Sangiovese, but we decided to have a wine much more easy to drink for daily use, that nice to drink with pasta, with pizza. So it's a wine for more young, that had less aging, and it's more simple in its taste, but it's very nice to drink. Okay, so please. Another wine, that the wine is also kosher, organic. They taste the wine to check if it's the typical taste of the wine. Only if they approve the wine, they give us this small label, number it. We have to write Chianti Classico, and also we have to put the logo of the Chianti Classico, is the black rooster. So without this logo, it's not Chianti Classico. So the wine is very high regulated. And this wine is much more complex if you compare with the other one. And is a wine from 2015. It's a blend with 95% Sangiovese and 5 is Cabernet Sauvignon. It stayed 12 months in French oak barrels. And it's the typical Chianti Classico. It's a wine very fruity, but also very fresh. Even if it's long aged, the wine is still very fresh. This is because of the natural acidity of the Sangiovese grapes. So these wines combine perfectly with something rich. And this is the reason because I'm giving you now some seasoned cheese, halal Israel, and from Italy, from the northern Italy is Grana Padano, similar to Parmesan cheese.